Hey everybody, my name is Scott with the Arizona Hot Tub Factory and they call me the Spawn Man. Today I'm working on something a little bit different. Normally I'm working on the top part of the diverter valve where it's all messed up and stuff like that. Or it's got a crack, it's not turning, it's broke, it's leaking. Well, today I'm working on a diverter valve at the bottom end. It's actually not the valve, it's actually where it goes to the pump. So you come from the diverter valve, and then it makes a 90, and it makes a 90, and it goes into the top part. This is actually what supplies the diverter valve with water. So anyways, I'll show you what's going on, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna go ahead and fix it. So this is the hot tub we're working on today. It's called an American Spa. Good hot tub. Several different manufacturers have made something similar to this. Several dealers sell these. But anyways, this is what I'm working on today. So what was happening is, on the top, it was leaking right here. So I'll show you how I go about fixing this. I do not have to change the diverter valve itself. I've got to change, there's a rubber O-ring that goes here, and then there's two that go on top of the diverter itself. Now let's go to the underside. On the underside, since it was leaking up on top, where I was telling you, what the homeowner did is they put a couple rags here with some duct tape, with some zip ties, so that the water did not drip down onto his motor. Awesome idea. I understand what he was trying to do. He's trying to keep the water off the motor. So once I replace the O-rings up on top, this will no longer be needed. Now, what's going on is the water comes this way, goes through the heater, comes through the pump, goes up here, and it was leaking right here. So what he tried was some RTV. RTV will not work. The reason why is the water leak is somewhere between the 2-inch PVC and this 90-degree sweep. So what happens is the water is pushing because the pressure is coming from the pump, and it's pushing, and it just always pushes out. Since it pushes out, it's going to put that water it's going to push that water out. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this valve right here, just like I've done in a couple other, or not valve, I'm going to cut this fitting right here, cut it off, and then I'm going to put a brand new one on. We'll take all this off, and I'll show you how I fix the top part. So first things first, let's get rid of all this duct tape. Let's get rid of this right here. And like I said, this was just meant to keep the water off of the pump itself. Awesome idea. Very few people think that far ahead. Would this have stopped a leak? Absolutely not. It's just going to soak it up. So that's why that's not the greatest idea. So what I'm using just to get this nut untightened, this coupling, is I'm just using a pair of channel locks that I have, and they seem to work great. Spin that off, and then we will lift this up, and I'm just going to lay that towel underneath. So now you can kind of see what I did. I took the blue towel that was right here. I just draped it over there. I pulled this apart, put the yellow one underneath so that nothing gets inside. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this right. I'm now going to cut this off, and like always, I'm using Barry's favorite tool, and it's also called a multi-tool. I've actually started using a sharper blade. Jury's not in on that yet, so stay tuned for that. I'll leave some feedback a little bit more on that. I, generally speaking, do not like anything sharp, but there's nothing around here that I'm going to go crazy on. It's just this sweeper that I'm pulling off. Now what I do like about these is now I got to get to the back side of this. If I get to the back side, I can take the blade. Ooh, that's a little warm. Imagine that. And I can, by pushing this down, I can release the blade. Maybe. Okay, try it again. See, I can turn the blade. Come on. It's stuck. There it goes. And I can actually turn it sideways to where I can go in at it like this. And that point, grab onto it, cut it straight off. So that does a pretty good job. Yeah, I'm surprised this thing's sealed at all. So, all right, now we're gonna go ahead and cut this off just like we've done in other videos. Readjust the blade. Where's my knife? Get rid of some of this RTV crap. As you can see, I put 2 cuts. Now we'll go ahead and get the heat gun and we'll start pulling that piece out. Now to heat it up, as always, I'm using a Milwaukee heat gun, and I'll put a link for the multi-tool and for the heat gun in the description. We'll go ahead and heat up this part, and if we heat up a little bit more, no big deal, we'll start peeling it off. The other thing you're going to need is, I use just a pair of pliers, and then I'm using a pair of needle nose, but they're bent at the end. I find that this sometimes can get into the corners. It's just something, you got to try different things. This is what works for me. Now, sometimes you got to cut again. Very rare. Once you cut into it a little bit, you can tear the last bit of PVC plastic. I've done it several different ways. The biggest thing is, yeah, this thing's already peeling off. So, biggest thing is cutting through this end part with a pair of dikes. You've got to cut that off. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can see it's just peeling up. So, all right. The other thing you can use is a screwdriver. Excuse me, a screwdriver. And like I've said in the past, try not to use one with a really, really sharp tip. Give that just a second. Grab my screwdriver. And sometimes on these, I'll use just a little bit bigger screwdriver. And the reason why is because I can get a little, there we go. Where's the other pair of pliers? Pull that over. It's not wanting to come. There it goes. Yeah, they just didn't use enough glue when they put this together. See, so whoever put this together, let me show you. Whoever put this together didn't get the glue all the way to the end. And this ain't that much glue. It's just not enough. That's all there is to it. So this was done at the factory. So anyways, we can fix this. What I did is I put another cut down here at the bottom so I can pull this part out. And by doing that, I can get the rest of it from the back side without a problem. I'll go ahead and heat that up. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's just, this one's really peeling off pretty easy. That tells me there wasn't very much glue put on it at all. Yeah, see, this one's coming off pretty easy. It's just not enough glue. That's all there is to it. This one is purely not enough glue. Now, when I'm trying to clean off an old piece of tubing or a piece of rigid PVC, I'll use a razor blade. Usually, like I've said, they are not sharp. And what I'm doing is I don't want to cut this way. I actually put it so that it's like this. And what I'm doing is I'm scraping back and forth. I try not to cut this way because it'll actually cut into the tubing. I do not want to cut into this tubing. I just want to scrape it off to where I can get all the glue and all the crap that's on there off. Because I want to be able to have a nice clean surface when I go to re-PVC cement it on. And I find if I do it this way, sometimes, you know, the ones that are on the back side over here that I can't see, those are the tough ones. The ones that are out front, those are easy. Like right here, I got a little bit of a ridge. So that I'll just scrape that down a little bit. So that's what the back side looks like. You guys are getting a first look because I cannot see it from my side. So that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to look at it and see how it looks. See the front side, top side, it all looks pretty good. This is the fitting I'm going to use. And basically you got to get the fitting in there, and then you got to time it right. And what I mean by time it right, you don't want it to be like this, otherwise it won't be flat. So you got to make sure it's completely flat here. If it's off by a little bit, that's not bad. But forward and backwards, it can't be like that far, otherwise it's not going to fit. You didn't get it to go in far enough up here. On the other hand, you want this to be in there far enough, and then you want this to line up. Now, one more important thing. This is so important, it is unreal. If you don't do this, you are starting all over. If you take a closer look, there's no nut on it. So you pull it off, and what you do is you make sure you put the nut on. Whoop, got it all messed up. Make sure that you put the nut on before you glue it in place. Otherwise, you are starting over. I promise you. Trust me, I've done this before. And what I mean by done that before, I have glued it together without putting the nut on. It sucks. So remember to put the nut on. Make sure you got it timed right. I've got carpeting next to this hot tub, so I'm going to lay down something right here because the glue gets a little bit messy. I had the yellow towel right here so that nothing went down, but I'm going to try to set my PVC cement probably back here somewhere so I can lift it up. I can put it around the tubing and around the fitting, and then I can put it in place. I don't want to make a mess. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what I'm trying to explain to you guys. I don't want to make a mess. And then you got to hold it in place, probably at least a half a minute, you know, maybe a minute. You don't want it. Sometimes what will happen is when you put it together, it'll start pushing away. This one, I don't believe will do that. But other things I have had do that. But you just want to be aware of that, and then you just want to make sure you get it close to this so that, like I said, you can push down and then you just tighten it down. And if you don't get this right, then what happens is you just wasted your time. You're starting over, and guess what? You will get good at this after. You just need to make 1 or 2 mistakes. So I try to help you not to make those mistakes. Again, we will be using Christie's Red Hot Blue Glue. Crazy name. I will say, when I've gotten it on my hands, it is hot. I can actually feel the heat. So I've been finding that this stuff really does work better than using primer and then cement. Okay, so I'm going to kind of give you guys a huge pro tip. I tighten this down a little bit, or till it's firm. And then what I do, I take a pen. Sometimes I have a Sharpie, and I'll put a line on the PVC, and then I'll put another one on the fitting. And this pen's no good. And the reason, it's not, it won't do it. Well, I can kind of see it. I wish I had a Sharpie. I do not have, oh yes I do. I bet I do. I do have a Sharpie, right on. Okay, so let's start over. So, I take a Sharpie, I didn't think I had one, and I'll put a mark on the PVC tube so that I know where it's timed to. And then I put a line on the fitting. By doing that, I know where it needs to be timed. I don't want it to where, you know, they're off. So that is a huge pro tip. Hope that helps. So let's get the PVC cement in place. So undo your PVC cement. Look at that blue stuff. Boy, that stuff just works so good. It is just sucks to get it off your hands. So make sure it's just loose. I touched it. I should not have touched it. I touched it. Gosh darn it. I hate that stuff. Now I'm going to be the blue man for the rest of the day. Okay, so what you're going to do is you loosen up your nut. Pull your nut up, and then that'll slide out. Make sure that you get your PVC cement. You can kind of see where the old cement was. I'm going to get it a little bit past there all the way around, And then in here, you've got about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. You want to make sure you get it all the way in there. So I'm going to make sure my towel's pulled over far enough. First things first. Let's go ahead and get this done. And it's on my finger already. So come around and don't worry about putting too much on. As you saw, whoever did the last one did not put enough on. You want it to make it nice and blue all the way around. Okay, and I can already feel it starting to set up. Now we're going to do the fitting. Fitting's the same thing. Go around and make sure you do everything. I also do the edges just because I want it. This stuff welds really good. Now when I put this together, I actually don't slide it straight on. I actually will turn it about 1/8 of a turn. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want it to get into the cracks and crevices. Put my glue aside. You can kind of see how I'm doing it right now. See where they're not lined up. I pushed it all the way in. I've got those two to touch. And then I'm going to hold it right there. And that's basically what you're going to do. And you're going to hold it until that sucker sets up. Once it sets up, then it won't move. But I don't want it to move or pull out or anything. And as you can tell, it's not that hard to do these jobs. Now, since I have to sit here and hold this for about a minute, for those of you that enjoy my videos, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a subscribe button. I would appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button and the bell. And every time I put out a video, which I did 2 last week, I will have 2 this week. And I will start doing more videos if I continue to build viewership. You guys want them, I'll do them. The only thing I ask is hit the subscribe button. I've got about 92% of the viewers that watch don't hit the subscribe button. So that means there's only 8% of my loyal viewers, and I appreciate you guys. And this is what I've told everybody. If you ever have to call me at the office, I want to know what state you're from and what the weather's like. Because here in Arizona, guess what? It's hot. Next year at this time, it's going to be hot. 10 years from today, it's going to be hot. I want to hear what your weather's like. I don't care if you're from New Zealand. And yes, I have talked to people from New Zealand, from Australia. I've talked to people all over Canada. That's probably my second biggest viewership. And all over the UK. I've even talked to a guy in France this week and a guy from England this week. So I'm sure that that will hold from right there. And from there, the only thing I've got to do is, it'll go right down on there. Go like that. Spin that. Guess what? Done. And I've had a saying for 40 years. No matter how bad the job was, no matter how nasty you got, what you smelled like when you got done, when you got the job completely done, it really wasn't that bad. Now that I'm done gluing the sweeper into place, I'm going to show you how we put together the diverter valve. So the first thing you do is you clean out the ridge all the way around. And you don't have to go crazy. Just clean it out, make sure there's no, there's no crap in there. Wipe it down. Here's your diverter valve. Down there, if you look, the diverter valve has its little catch in there, which means this diverter valve goes in like this. So it'll slide in just like that. And just like all the rest, you can see that little ridge where it'll hit on that one, and then there's one on the other side. So you got 2 of those, 2 on each side. So what you're going to do is you take this like this. I pulled off the old O-rings, and then you're going to take O-ring number 1, stick it up here, and you're going to slide it down. And you slide it all the way down. Take O-ring number 2. Slide it all the way down. Now, I've got this magic stuff. I'll be right back and I'll show you what it is. This stuff is called Aladdin 631 5-ounce magic lube. What you're going to do is take just a little bit and just put a little bit on those gaskets, on those O-rings, and just push it around. And what that does, it makes it slide a little bit easier in the in the valve and on the top of what's called the bonnet. And you put a little bit right there. You can kind of see where I just dabbed it up there. I grab that with my fingers and I just run my fingers all the way around like that. Okay. Once you've got it like that, take that and you'll stick it right in there just like that. This is where the 2 O-rings from here will ride. I'm going to set up the camera again really quick. Take a little bit on your finger, not a whole lot. I'm telling you, this stuff is magical. And just put a little bit on the inside of what I call this the bonnet. Okay, and the reason why is when this slides in, you want those O-rings to seal, but you can actually feel how they actually slide in there real easy. Okay, let's pull that out. Make sure the O-rings are all the way down. You can kind of see that now it really made it nice in there. Okay, with that like that, you take this, and because the clip, the stop point is on this side, it depends on which way it is. You can take this and you slide that all the way down, and it'll fall. You can see it goes 180 degrees one way, it goes 180 degrees the other way. I put it right in the middle. Take your bonnet, push your bonnet down, and then you're going to turn it. And that's all there is to it. Take your diverter. I'm not sure what the handle. Now you can turn it all the way one way, okay, and then you can. Okay, so this one's all the way this way. If I I don't like that one. Let's try it. Let's try it in a different position. I'm trying to get this to where when I go like this. Here, let's put this one's here. That one's there. Okay, this one works. Now watch. This is the reason why I'm trying to show you this. This one tells me the valve's turned all the way that way. This one tells me it's turned all the way that way. If I put it in the center right around there, I've got it to where it's halfway. Now what I do is I take a Sharpie and I can go like this with the Sharpie. And I can color that top part. I know it's hard to see in the video, but I have colored it black. And then I will explain to the homeowner why I did that. That way the homeowner knows. Okay, so now you can see I sprayed it black. Okay, and the reason why I'm doing that, that means it's right in the middle. All the way that way, all the way this way. When you're not in the hot tub, always put it in the middle. That way the water is going up through this diverter valve. It's going evenly among the 2 tubes. If you leave it this way, the one side's not getting any water. And let's say you do that for 2 or 3 months. Then all of a sudden you get in there and somebody goes like this. All the water that was in that tube that you just pushed out, you pushed out into the hot tub, and that's stinchy, nasty water, and all of a sudden somebody goes, who farted? That's all there is to it. That's what people think. So always put your diverter valve in the middle. I think I've given you guys today 4 pro tips. So with that, this video is done. You guys have a great day. I hope you enjoy these videos. And remember, it's a hot tub in the backyard. It blows bubbles and it heats up. Don't go crazy, everybody. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and I hope to see you guys next week.